Hi, everybody. I want to talk to you today about how to diagnose your writing troubles. I'm going to give you a very simple outline. I've got 7 levels of writing, and only one of them is really where you want to be. So let's start talking about it. Like I said, there are 6 levels of writing trouble. Let's take them one by one and see where you fit in. Number one, trouble with sentences. When I say trouble with sentences, what I mean is when you're writing, your sentences are less effective and you're having a hard time even putting together something that communicates the way that you want to communicate it. Perhaps there is a grammar issue, a spelling issue, a punctuation, any one of these things. That's very normal. I don't say this as trouble. I don't intend to make this seem negative or bad. This is just where some people end up. Once you can figure out how to write your sentences effectively and communicate what you want to say effectively, we then will move on to the trouble with argument stage. This is where a lot of students, even students who sometimes write effectively, they actually stall out right here because they're not confident in how they make their argument. They can feel their way to an argument. They can use their intuition to make their way to an argument, but they do not actually effectively, consistently, consciously know how to make an argument. That requires an awareness of what the components of an argument are, what it means to have a complete argument. That is another step that we need to follow along the way. Once you have understood how to make an argument, then you got to know how to support that thing. Most people find it relatively easy to find evidence. And then many people think a fundamental element of argumentation is evidence, but evidence is not necessarily part of an argument. Evidence is supporting an argument. Analysis is how you connect the evidence to the argument. We all understand that the temperature on the thermometer is evidence that it's cold or that it's hot. But you need to connect the dots and say, because it's this temperature, it proves that it's hot. This is an oversimplification, but this is where a lot of people also struggle. So even if you know how to make a topic sentence with the argument, how do you connect the evidence to the topic sentence? This is where a lot of people also stall out. Now, this is where there's another level. Once we've solved and understood how to consciously do analysis and effectively do analysis, that's how my most advanced students usually start at, which is an unconfident presentation of their ideas. So they know how to write a paragraph. They know how to write a 5 paragraph essay. They know what they're trying to say, but in their saying it, they're trying to show that, in fact, they are not nervous, that they are not unconfident in what they're writing. And so their writing ends up overwritten, overcomplicated. They think that simple sentences aren't good enough. They need to write complicatedly. One of the most common things I run into is the idea that you should never repeat words. So they spend an enormous amount of time thinking about what's the right word to put into what they're saying rather than just saying the thing that is direct, for example. Or long sentences that continue with too many commas and saying things with 10 words where one will do, picking a more confident action verb instead of writing 3 different passive clauses on top of one another. This is where a lot of student writers who are decent but struggle with getting their essays done and struggle with even enjoying writing, this is often where they are stuck. And so once we work on clarity and directness and confidence in that mode, that's when we move on to where a lot of people are but don't know that they are, which is their writing is boring. It's almost the opposite problem. It's a problem that you can only really have once you get past the performance. And some people skip the performance side of like, oh, look at my writing. I'm writing so hard. And they go right to the boring part. So they're effective but boring. And being at level 5 is actually not bad. You can usually get good grades with a level 5 because your teacher isn't always looking for spark. They're not always looking for it to be interesting, depending on your class. A lot of history teachers will be totally fine with level 5. As a history teacher, if a student gives me a level 5, I'm usually okay with it. because there's some arguments like digging a ditch. You just need a square hole in the ground made of logic. More and more these days, this is not good enough for what teachers are looking for or what, colleges, employers, blah, blah, blah. But just fundamentally, people are looking for more human applied interestingness in people's writing. It's going to be more valuable in the future now than ever with technology being what it is. This is about confidence of voice, knowing when things are cliche, being not okay with just okay. And once you get past that point, even when you know what that is, this is the hard part, is finding your own voice and finding what it is that you want to achieve and saying something in a way that it hasn't been said before. This is one of the hardest things to learn. But once you get through these other ones and once you figure out what it feels like to write well, then you can struggle with your own spark. And if you feel like you've got a spark, if you feel like you can say things in a way that only you can say them, or at least in a way that draws interest and draws engagement, then that's when you get to level seven. And not everybody needs to get to level seven. Not everybody wants to get to level seven, but everybody falls somewhere on these lines. And wherever you're at, I can help you. And even if you're already at level seven, I'm very confident that if you go through my website that's linked to the video or in contact with me at the various links surrounding my face on the video, I'll be able to help you know, even if you're already feeling sparky, we can make sure to find an outlet, find a course for your spark to travel along. Thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a great day.